Good evening. I'm Steve Gibson. It's my pleasure to be with you all tonight. I'm a recently elected member of the Pasadena Community College Board of Trustees, and I'm joining here tonight as a core member of PANA, the Progressive Asian Network for Action. Let's have David give a brief introduction to PANA for all new folks on the call. David, can you give a brief introduction to PANA?
Sure, I'm going to cut it down. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So my name's David Monkai, and I'm one of the original members. PANA, we're like an all-volunteer grassroots organization. We formed in 2016 in the aftermath of APIs for Bernie Sanders for president. And we stand for full equality, justice, and peace for 99%. And, we've had many educational events and actions, such as the campaign to advocate for Medicare for All and the Green New Deal, and opposing anti-Asian violence within the API communities. Many of our members play leading roles in groups like Save Our Seniors Network in the JA community, or Neighborhood Safety Companions of Koreatown, Pasadena Democratic Clubs, Healthcare for Us, Glendale Tenants Union, and many other groups. We believe that fundamental social change happens when progressives and system changers build strong bases of support. And from that, you elect really good candidates who represent working folks, BIPOC people, women, LGBTQ, and all other peoples to win power. And we believe elections are really important in the main arena where democracy still functions for now. But no way do we think that we should let the voters leave it just up to elected officials to make those changes. On the contrary, these past elections, with the rise of white supremacy and fascism, it shows that the far right has no respect for democratic processes and their results. So building independent, strong mass organizations and unions with well-informed people, mobilizing to stop extremists is the only recourse when you have ideologues in office, or like when Congress takes over and that sort of thing. So although we need to elect people and we need to continue to do so, let's work to build strong neighborhoods, families, and our communities to build big bases of support for elected representatives like Kenny, like Kelsey, and Stephen, and other people, so we basically support them. Thank you so much. And please, this is not like a pitch for support or fundraising or anything like that, but if you go to our website, if you care to support us, please do so. And financial support will be very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Well, we're so glad you joined us tonight because representation matters. The recent election results in Los Angeles City and County have shown the undeniable political force of Asian Americans, as well as the voting power of millennials and Gen Z. We're here to discuss the issues and campaigns that propelled our outstanding new leaders, Kelsey Iino, to LACCD trustee, and Kenneth Mejia to LA City Controller. And joining us to help facilitate discussion tonight is Jenny Chang, a founding member of PANA and a deep community organizer. California has the highest Asian American population with nearly 6 million Asian Americans. This is about 15% of California's total population. And Los Angeles is the home to the largest population of millennials. California is home to the largest population of millionaires. So Jenny, can you please take it away and lead the discussion?
Yeah, thank you, my friend, Stephen. I've known Stephen for a long time, and it doesn't matter how many years go by, I always feel like I just know the tip of the iceberg with you. And honestly, that's the case with the AAPI demographic in general. I feel like people generally don't know about Asian American history and how much we're a part of the fabric of this country, and especially in California. And I think it's a challenge for a lot of, especially non-Asians, to get their heads around what we're about, because we're not a monolith and we aren't united by a common language, and it can be maybe English, right? But even then, we've got people who English is their second language, and it's gonna be really challenging. And Stephen shared the numbers, and those numbers are real, but we're here and we're organizing and we're focused on the issues like a beast, issues that impact everyone. So here tonight, it's so thrilling that we have our featured speakers here tonight. And we have the controller-elect. Have you been sworn in yet? I don't believe so, right? Kenneth Mejia himself with us. We got Kelsey Iino, Jane, Nguyen, all coming up on the screen. And Stephen will also be joining us in this conversation as an elected member recently himself. But this is going to be an open conversation with the community, so I'm not going to moderate all the questions. We invite you to ask questions in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand, we can also call on you. But be mindful of people's times, our guests here, and don't go on your soliloquies. Make sure you focus on the question you're asking if you can. But before we start, I'd like to invite our speakers here. If we can get one more on the screen, there we go. If you'd like to share some information about yourself, people kind of know your campaign involvement, your public persona at a certain given time. Everyone's got different entry points of getting to know you all. But if you could share a little bit about your deeper involvement in the community and what brings you to the table as an activist, the work that drives and informs your work. Maybe we can start with Jane. Would you like to start?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jane, she, her. I am a community organizer, and I first met PANA and Kenneth in the summer of 2018 when we were organizing around the K-Town shelter. Some of you may remember that in the summer of 2018, there were huge protests that broke out in Koreatown over the siting of a homeless shelter. And I started organizing around homelessness issues. That's when I was one of the co-founders of K-Town for All. And I met Kenneth as a neighborhood council board member. He was in support of homelessness. He was also organizing around tenants issues. So we've known each other in the organizing space since 2018. And it's amazing to see so much of what we've built in the past few years coming together as a community, and that really informed our campaign. Our campaign is rooted in community organizing, and we've been with PANA these past few years as well, and that translated into our victory at the polls recently. So we'll get into that a little bit more later, but just wanted to say that, so proud of the movement that we've all been part of. And thank you so much, PANA, for having us. Oh, and I was also the campaign manager for Kenneth Mejia's campaign.
That's right. Thank you so much for being here. The victory is so sweet. I know everyone who's joined us feels the same way. Kenneth, please, excuse me, Controller Mejia, please.
You just call me Kenneth. Hey, Jenny. Hey, PANA. Good to see you all. It's good to be back and talk to you all as elected official. It really is surreal to me. But I started off organizing around in 2016 around homelessness and tenants' rights. I've been a member of the LA Tenants Union. And so that's sort of where my organizing and activism was around. Because, I believe housing is a human right, and what better type of government handles that than the local level. And so, I took what I've learned over the past years from organizing, and like Jane said, we use that as part of our campaign. Our team is literally all organizers and activists, and we were able to win and connect with the community, despite all the attacks and all the political consultants, but we were grounded in our work and what we do for helping people who the system has screwed over. And I think we took that anger and we put it to action, and we ran, and we won. And Jane was really instrumental in that. And she's not only our campaign manager, but she's also our chief of staff in office too. So glad to have her on board, and we're definitely representing PANA well in office. So thank you.
Thank you so much for making time tonight. Surely you are very busy. Kelsey, school board member.
Yes. So activism. I think activism has been part of my life for a very long time, probably since I was really young. I think my parents might even be on here today, but I think generations of activism, fourth generation Japanese American. So my grandparents were incarcerated in American concentration camps in World War II. So just out of that, my stepfather was a conscientious objector in the Vietnam War. My dad was fought in the Vietnam War. So I think there was a lot of that around. I was in high school during, an affirmative action got repealed. And so there was a lot of things going on. And basically there's been war at some point throughout my entire high school, college life. And so kind of being anti-war rallies, supporting, social justice and things like that. I've just kind of been ingrained, people movements have always been my jam. I wasn't really compelled to get into politics, nor did I really have a clue what I was embarking on. But, I have been a community college faculty member for 15 years now. I'm a product of the community college system. When Betsy DeVos got elected as Secretary of Education is when I kind of decided, well, with what Trump was doing and with everything else, I really need to roll up my sleeve. And this is the area that I had the most expertise to kind of step up and do something. And so it's taken me a little over 5 years to actually get appointed and sit and serve, but I made it. And so I think all the stars aligned. Mike Fong vacated the seat, so they were looking for an API representative, as well as there was only 2 women, 5 men on the board. So to be an API woman with a pretty extensive background in community college, I think I was a very good fit for that. So I'm sure there will be more questions, but yeah. And just thanks to PANA, I think you were all probably one of the first legit endorsements that I got when I was trying to do this for the appointment process. And so a lot of the progressive support was what I was looking for. So thank you.
That's great. I really appreciate the personal remarks. I think it's, you run as API, you can't really hide that, but we don't always talk about these things on the stump, right? So I guess that kind of leads to my first question. Like, what are some of the biggest misconceptions about your campaigns? And this is just open, whoever wants to go first. Misconceptions, of course, things like Pikachu come to mind. People have to talk about the billboards, or just what you look like and what people think of you at face value, right? But what are the challenges you faced in those initial impressions?
I'm sure Kenneth and Jane can relate to this, although I am not as young as they are. I'm not a Gen, what is Z? Is that what you all are? But
can we clarify Gen Z real quick? Because I looked up Gen Z and it's 8 to 23-year-olds. So I was like, we're talking about millennials too, right? I mean, Gen Z is.
Well, just for the record, I'm 43 now. So I'm definitely a lot older. And I'm in a space that I think a lot of my professional background has made me a legit candidate. But I would say, based off of how I carry myself and I guess my Asian youthfulness, I think people sizing me up to be young and inexperienced was probably a huge challenge to kind of overcome. My main opponent, who had run 13 times, won 4 terms, but out the gate, she was kind of just saying, oh, this girl doesn't know anything. She has no experience. She just has a lot of endorsements behind her. And thankfully, by the end of our little endorsement tour, she was suggesting that I had too much on my plate and she had more free time to give. So that's, yeah. And I think a lot of folks had really good recommendations throughout the process, but I think it was still digesting it and trying to make it my own in this process, be true to who I am. Authentic to, what I care about, and staying the path, I think was also challenging because I've never run. People are like, have you run for things before? And I was like, oh yeah, in high school was the last time I ran for something. So.
High school was the last time you ran for something and you won. And Kenneth, you've developed a lot of experience, and your trajectory is very different. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and the misconceptions?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I think many of us here, especially PANA, came from Bernie Sanders, and in 2015, 2016, that's when I got more politically motivated. And so, I wanted to get more involved in the political process. And I was very ideological back then. And I was like, I'm going to run for Congress. I'm going to help Bernie. And then I got really frustrated with the Democratic Party. And then I left and I was like, I'm going to run as a Green. Which I look back at it now. It's like, well, if I ran as a Dem, I probably would have won, because like, look at David Kim, he almost destroyed Jimmy. But I was just frustrated. I was frustrated with the system, and I think a lot of people expect out of us is that we don't know what we're doing. We're very young. Our campaign in general was, we shocked a lot of everybody, I think, with the tactics that we use, the billboards, the corgis, the Pikachus. But I think what people realize is that we like to have fun, and we were actually doing the job already too. It's not like we were just having fun, but we were putting out websites, affordable housing maps, things that the controller should be doing, but we were doing it as a campaign, and I think that really paid off. So we really broke a lot of boundaries, especially for people looking at our youth and the silly things that we did. And I think we broke those, maybe Jane, if you have more things that we broke by any expectations.
I think some of the mainstream media may want to chalk up our win to, some of the gimmicks like Pikachus and the corgis and stuff, which definitely captured a lot of attention. And they may want to chalk up our historic win to like an anomaly. But I don't think that it's an anomaly. Like, this is years of hard work. I mean, our campaign was 2 years. We ran for 2 years, and we created so many resources, and we communicated directly with voters, with the people, and it resonated with a lot of people, over 500,000 people. And it's not just because of the Pikachus and the corgis and the cuteness and the TikToks. It's because we really tapped into the deep frustration that people have with the status quo and with government failing and not truly serving the people. And we also have our team to thank, which consists of a lot of Gen Z. Our youngest team member was 17 when he joined our campaign, Kyler, who created our website and all of our resources. And Kenneth really empowered so many Gen Z youth on our team to take ownership of this campaign, to contribute in meaningful ways. And a lot of our platforms were created by Gen Zers. Like, I think Kiernan is on this Zoom right now. Kiernan, you're a Gen Zer. You created our animal welfare platform, for example. So yeah, it's not an anomaly. It's not cute gimmicks that helped us win. It's years and years of hard work and building people power and providing exactly what voters want that enabled us to win.
I think, you said deep frustration. That's the part that gets missed when I'm speaking with politicos. There's like, how did they do it? They're young and all of this, but I think you all are so focused on the issues and have the youth at the table making major decisions, and it's a genuine engagement. And I could just picture like the next election cycle getting really cutesy with so many political campaigns in a disingenuous way. Already I feel frustrated. That I had an acquaintance, just a little aside, who said day after election, they were like, these people voting for Kenneth Mejia, they have to be voting for Rick Caruso too, like, right? Because he was up ahead day after, right? And I was like, no way, like, you don't know these voters. There's no way Mejia's voters are voting for Caruso too. And there's just a huge disconnect. But for you all, I feel it's a genuine connection to, because you are younger, these are your people, you're speaking the same language, and they're at the table. Are these discussions like, you think, how do we reach more young voters? Are you thinking, how do we reach older voters? Are you just, like, when you think of how to approach like the Pikachu stuff, was somebody one day like, was it a joke? Like, let's just F this freaking establishment and go for it?
That was Kenneth.
It was a joke, and I was like, you know what, Jane, I'm gonna get this Pikachu, and I was just messing around with it, and it ended up working because it got people's attention. So those things are just like attention grabbers, but it's what the substance we put behind it when we get their attention that really makes them think like, wow, now I know what the controller does because you got my attention. And that's the problem with engaging in politics. Politics can be very divisive. It can be very boring, especially around a job like accounting and auditing, which is what the controller is. And now it's like the most popular position, I think, in the city of LA. So, you know, we really we really empowered, especially the youth too. And many of these ideas, not just the Pikachu, but using the corgis, the TikToks were all there, you know, and we really empower them to help us win.
Yeah, I feel like your campaign is very genuine, that this is who you are, and that it's like almost in the vein of AOC, but I feel like we got AOC sometimes in accidental, like caught her in her vulnerable moments, whereas you're just going for it. Did you have any idea that you'd win by so much?
We didn't know that in the primary in June, but once we saw June, we knew we were going to dominate in November, and we won by 27%. So, and we set the record for the most votes in the city of LA. So we feel very proud. And yeah, so.
Yeah, that's amazing. Kelsey, if I may pivot, your trajectory is so different. Like, you've had a long-standing relationship with the unions and been a leader in that space. And these are, you know, relationships that take years to develop. But it's not just the unions. Like, your vote count is very high, and you have relationships with the Japanese community. Do you want to kind of talk about how you organized and what you think got you there?
Sure. Surf thriving was a big part of it. I think so. Yeah, I think as far as game plan, it wasn't as well thought out or strategic. I think as Jane and Kenneth, you know, a lot of the things that they produced, the facts and all of those kinds of things were super helpful to understand the role. It's hard because LACCD particularly, we run member at large, which means we're on 3 million ballots, almost 900 square miles. And so, and it's community college, right? Or school board, which is typically a very down ballot race. But one of the things I think that were very critical, like you're mentioning, was the support with labor. At my own college, I'm currently serving my 4th year as the president of my faculty union. So I think actually that helped me prepare to do the job a lot. When I got appointed in April, it's been very helpful in me navigating, I think, things systematically from the community college system, just because I had been engaged in so many more parts. But having the support of the faculty union, the like pretty much all of the employees of the campus and the stakeholders in that community were very critical, because I couldn't door knock. I mean, I could try, but I would have to do a lot more research to see which areas had the highest voter turnout, and do things like that. But I think the main thing was just having labor and individual community support to get out the word. And so I think, like you're mentioning too, I've been really involved in the Japanese American community for the past 15 plus years. I serve on a couple boards, the Little Tokyo Service Center, and I've come out to a lot of the JANM events and JACCC events. And so I think just with all of that, it was just really heartwarming. A lot of people that had a lot more experience with the campaign and political process offered a lot of support and help. I think I saw Arlene in here earlier, and then she's part of UTLA, and UTLA traditionally doesn't endorse candidates outside of their immediate races, unless it directly affects them. But her and Ingrid Ganell both, made sure they advocated for me in that space, because there is that pipeline, right? K-12 to community college system, and we serve the same students. So I think a lot of that, creating those those partnerships were very critical. And I think for me to do this job well and right, those are the partnerships that I want, right? The LACCD, we employ, we create thousands and thousands of positions with all the building that we're doing. And because we have project labor agreements, all of it's built with unions. And so there's a lot of partnership with that, and apprenticeship and upward mobility for folks that come through as students through our pipeline. And so making sure I had the support of all of them was extremely critical to my win, because they were the ones also being able to put on their slate mailers and their endorsement lists of who to vote for. Because it's hard unless right, someone for community college. You're not likely, unless you care or you see something that you care about that puts your name on there. It's hard to get those votes.
Right. I think institutional support was super helpful. And how do you think the API community really showed up for the selection, the API community?
Yes, they showed up really well early on, because like I had mentioned, Mike Fong vacated the seat. And so there was a really high push to maintain the seat as an API representative seat. And so it was great. Typically, when there's an appointment process, there's typically like 30 to 40 candidates that'll put in their name for application. And then the board is the one we give 3 to 5 minute speeches in front of the board, and then they start voting and pick who they want for the appointment process. And fortunately, because of a lot of API political folks and whatnot, kind of did a lot of clearing of the field. The day of the appointment, there were only 4 people that showed up, and I was the only API candidate. And on my behalf, we had past trustees speak. So Mike spoke, Warren Furtani spoke, Congresswoman Judy Chu spoke on my behalf, and we had faculty and staff. So I think all of that also increased my viability for the board to then vote unanimously me for the appointment.
People got to show up.
Yeah.
Were there any unions that didn't endorse you or were fighting you? Just curious.
No.
Okay. That's great. There's a question from Changson Lim in the chat for Jane. You mentioned building people power. Can you describe in more detail how you built people power?
So as I mentioned at the beginning, Kenneth is a longtime organizer, and I have also been organizing since 2018. And with that history and background of organizing comes a sense of credibility with people that may not otherwise, like a new, I guess someone new to LA or new to LA organizing may not have that sense of credibility with the movement. And I think having that background means that we have so many people behind us already. And so when we launched this campaign in 2020, we had a ton of people who already knew us, who already believed in the work that we were doing, who have seen us show up for the community, be in marches, be part of protests. And it's not that an electoral politics should be the culmination of organizing by any means. But I think that really shows that we have always fought with the people. And I think that's part of why we were able to attract so many people to our campaign. We got over 1,200 or so volunteer signups. And at any given point, we had like 500 active volunteers. We were able to knock on a lot of doors. We were able to go into so many communities and spread our message through word of mouth because we already had the movement behind us. So that's what people power means to me. And it's also being authentic with our message and not compromising on our values. So there have been many times throughout the campaign when we were asked to denounce disruptive protests or actions, and we never did that because we have always supported movement organizers and activists. And we stayed true to that. And I think people ultimately respected that, even though we were repeatedly attacked for that.
I do find you, I find all of you authentic, very, very genuine. I want to speak particularly, Jane, Kenneth, you two, I feel your communication skills are so strong, the visual, the verbal. And Kenneth, I've known you for years. And one thing I know about you as a leader is like, you're not afraid to bring in the experts, engage them, learn, and then amplify. And your leadership in that is really strong. I really appreciate that. But you do that with, I feel like, issue areas across the board. You know, in your previous candidacies, I felt you always engaged, you weren't afraid, you weren't intimidated. And that's, I think, also present in your appointments. So, and Jane, I mean, your reputation with your graphic skills precedes you. I know your K-Town for All work, also your reputation is very strong. You two aren't afraid, what I've seen is you're not afraid to use your own personal voice, to be present, to deliver the information yourselves, to get it yourselves. Yeah, in a fresh and exciting way. We have another question in the chat. Let's see. Taiji, you're sharing that Jane also did graphics for Nithya Raman's campaign. Very cool. Reggie, you had a question up here. Reggie asked, she says, I keep running into non-political Asians. Did you encounter them, and how do you mobilize non-political Asians? Question for everyone. Do you run into non-political Asians? Do they challenge you, or are they curious? Have they been an issue?
I guess I could talk. You know what? Like the API vote was actually higher than normal compared to the primary. But I think for us especially, we engaged a lot of younger API non-political people. I think for the first time who have ever voted in their life. And I think it's because of what the message we were pushing, coupled with the representation that, oh, hey, it's someone who looks like me. I think that really played a role too. So I think it's just a matter of how you campaigned at the end of the day. What was your message? How you brought that out, and I think we did a good job at that in bringing non-political Asians, because there's a lot of us who are not politically active. Like I never used to be politically active. I was one of those non-political Asians most of my life, but I saw something that sparked my interest, and I think that was like we were the spark to others too, for people who wanted to get more interested and engaged in electoral process.
What's worked for you when there's so many Asians in California and LA, there's this stereotype of Asians going to certain professions and like maybe not being politically engaged or having a meek voice, even in the workspace, in the political space. How do you bring in, what are some of the things that have worked for you all in engaging people who you need at the table, you need coming, voting?
Also, I don't know if Kenneth mentioned this, but also multilingual outreach. We contacted people through many different languages. And also the controller's race is nonpartisan. And so we were able to talk about what the controller is and just talk about qualifications without bringing up politics. And so just explaining our message and the position and qualifications in just a very straightforward, clear way and in their native language really helped.
Could we talk about language justice? Because there are ways to do that and ways to definitely not do that. And there's a lot of organizations who will come to PANA and ask for free language services. And we try our best, especially if it's like an issue we really care about, right? But sometimes it's organizations that are really deep pocketed. Do you have any thoughts on this?
The way we did it was we would ask team members, I mean, our team was very diverse. And so if we wanted to connect to the Korean American community, we would ask Korean Americans on our team. And so they would be the ones who crafted the initial language. So it wasn't really just a copy and paste. It was, they would come up with the original message.
What do you, I think like with campaigns, it's so different because people are invested and they're willing to give their free labor. What do you do if you're an organization or a campaign? You know what, I'm just going to say it. If you are if you're coming in as a well-funded organization, please pay for language justice materials. Do not expect free labor from volunteers. A question in from Sam. Hi, Sam. What can we do as PANA or individually to support and sustain your leadership? For everyone, for Kelsey, Kenneth, as you take office and govern. What do you need? Do you feel like you'll need continued support? I mean, political
Yes.
jobs are constant campaigning. That's just a fact.
Yes, I mean, I also strongly believe in succession plan. So building, I guess, planting a seed in other folks too, to show that this is doable and manageable, and people do come out in very surprising ways to show up and advocate for you. And or not, I mean, it's not just you, but the mission, right? And the process. Unfortunately for me, Kenneth, I don't know how long your term is, but I'm only fulfilling a term, so I have to do this again in 2 years, which means I'm supposed to be starting now, which I can't even think about because I'm still trying to shake off this current past process that I went through. But yeah, I think just support and kicking in when you can, ask questions, hold us accountable. I think that would be what I would want, I guess. Hey, how's it going?
I agree. I think same with Kelsey for us. We're gonna need a lot of support. I know our position, especially knowing who we are, a lot of people are watching us because we set the bar and we did things no one has ever done, and people want to see us succeed, but a lot of people want to see us fail too, right? And I think just having community behind us when we get pushback or when we release an audit and we have recommendations, just pushing your council members or the mayor to act on these recommendations is something that we're going to need. And so definitely would just stay tuned. I think we're going to come up with a way to communicate with people to help us push, our message in office, because we're only as good as the people who like force the change, right? Because we can only do the audits and the recommendations, but we can't force it. It's going to be you, all the people who are going to be pushing their council members to actually legislate and take those recommendations.
I know we have a reporter, at least in the room. Please feel free if you have any questions to raise your hand if you'd like. Is it Josie? Not to put you on the spot. I just want to make sure if you have any questions, because we'd love for you to publish. Where are you? Hi, is it Josie?
Hi, yes, it is. It is Josie. I'm just kind of listening right now, but yeah, no, I've been following this campaign. I cover mostly Asian American communities. So this has been so interesting to see. Actually, I just been watching Jane's trajectory because I first did interview her when she was one of the folks who founded K-Town for All. And yeah, no, I enjoy listening to you guys' questions. I don't really have any at this moment.
How important is it that AAPI stick together in your campaigns? You see this a lot in, identity politics in LA. We don't need to go into the city council, the scandal, but how important do you feel is organizing based on the way we look in our experiences, maybe shared experiences culturally?
Well, I definitely think representation matters, but then also know that we have gaps, right, in our knowledge base too. So I think always to make sure that we're learning and bringing in proper representation and asking those folks the questions that having those communities that where we can go to get the source is also going to be really important. For me, I'm the chair of the API Advisory Committee to the Chancellor. And for those of you that aren't too familiar with LACCD, we have 9 campuses and a district office, 2 satellites. And we're the largest community college system in the country. We serve on a good day, on a good year, about 250,000 students, and anywhere from 13 to 15% are API. And so, there's a lot that we can do. We take 10% of the community college budget for the whole state. And so it's great because I think I didn't know at the time when I wanted to run for trustee, but there's a lot of power with that district and a lot of things that we can do and advocate for. And so I think being in these spaces like PANA and asking you all what we need to do as we serve the community and directions we can go in, then I think it's a great tool and a resource. And so I will always come to you all to get feedback or any ideas that you have, or if you want to join any of the committees or projects that we're on. Yeah.
Anybody else? I mean, I'd really love to see more cultural awareness with our leaders who are API, and just to speak to the struggles, whether it's something our parents went through or we experienced, because experience isn't white adjacent. Like we're often placed as white adjacent, and we're not. And experience is so different, and that I think needs to be voiced, and but not blaming anyone. I think it's on us to educate and take the questions and allow, welcome questions and build those bridges. Is that something in back of mind? I mean, Kenneth, you had your Philippines jacket when you went on, I think it was your day after the win, am I right? Do you want to talk a little bit about your heritage? And
Yeah, definitely. My parents are from the Philippines, and I was born here down the street in Westlake. But I like what Kelsey was saying there. Even in the city of LA, there are a lot of API people, but there's no representation in City Hall that much, right? And the fact that it's 2022 and we are the first, API citywide elected official is mind-boggling sometimes. Or being the first Filipino, even though we make up like the largest, I think, group here in LA, Asians. But I think about it, and that's why I'm proud to show that I am and not be ashamed, because sometimes, and like what you mentioned, a lot of Asians can be very apolitical, but there are some who can go out there like ourselves, who really try to make the effort to connect with the community and connect with organizations who are struggling, and we're trying to change that on the inside now, right? So I think it's really important as part of our identity too. When we created our leadership team as well, we try to map it and make it a diverse, just like how the city of LA is. So that's something we're very cognizant about, and we feel that sort of that little weight on our shoulders as being, the first API in the city, and we want to make sure other people who feel inspired to know that they can do what we did, whether you're young or what where your parents come from. I think it's all possible, and so definitely we're always constantly cognizant about our background and culture.
thank you for sharing. Do you feel a responsibility to? Are you getting any pressures from the Filipino community?
No, not really. They're very proud. We're like on the front page. The Filipino, I think, government actually reached out to me, which was like, whoa. So the actual Philippines, sent me something, so it was cool. But our team is so diverse. We really celebrate like our heritage. Like I remember when it was like Lunar New Year, we had Jane and David Kim, you know, they dressed up, and you know, we really, anytime there was like a big event or a cultural a month, we would celebrate it in our campaign, because I think that's what makes who we are.
I just noticed your corgi on your shoulder. I'm so sorry. That's awesome. The government reaching out to you. Jane, would you feel open to share your own heritage or your experience?
Yeah. Well, as you probably have all assumed, I am Vietnamese American. And so as entering City Hall as a young Vietnamese American woman, I think can, you know, be empowering to many other young Asian AAPI women. And our campaign has always been proud of the fact that we organized within a multiracial, diverse coalition. We've always been organizing with and in support of Black Lives Matter. And we bring our AAPI background to all of the issues that we're fighting for. You know, we're cognizant of the fact that the AAPI community are also disproportionately represented in terms of poverty, displacement. And so that really informs all of the issues that we're fighting for. People may look at the AAPI community as model minorities, but we really need to just be conscious of the fact that, you know, the AAPI community experiences high rates of poverty. And so we're approaching governance with all of that in mind. We're always going to be fighting to uplift marginalized communities. And I'm really proud of that as we're entering City Hall with our super diverse team. And we'll be making more announcements in the future. But yeah, I think I'm also very proud of Kenneth too, for always being so representative of and proud of who he is as a Filipino American. So yeah.
Makes us all proud, I think. We have some questions, hands up. First phone number ending in 8255, if you could unmute. And anyone else who has questions afterwards, I think feel free to send it to us. You know, coming close to an hour. So 8255, if you could unmute, ask your question.
Great. Kenneth and Jane, thank you for organizing a positive, creative campaign that inspired new people to get involved and learn about the city budget, even when your opponents tried to portray you in a negative light. My question to PANA is, how can we spread the word to cure mail-in ballot signatures for David Kim for Congress? Because the deadline is tomorrow. Jiyoung was doing great work on this. Thank you.
The question is for PANA. Fairmares, could we save your question for last? I just want to respect their time. People got Monday morning duties. But let's come back. Godfrey Plata, question, unmute please.
Hey y'all. Hey Jenny. Hi everybody. Jane started talking about this a little bit, and Jenny, earlier you heard like, oh, we don't have to bring up the leaked audio tapes, but I actually think they're really informative to like the conversation that is being had tonight, where on the leaked audio, we heard an example of what happens when a desire for representation, a desire for power goes awry and goes overboard and at the expense of other community members from different backgrounds. And so I would be curious about hearing from any of the panelists about how we resist that. Like, how do we continue to build API power and ensure representation while resisting the urge to just wrench power in the ways that we heard about on the audio tapes?
I think for us, we make a conscientious effort to make sure that we are looking at the systems that we live in, who these systems negatively affect the most, which is mostly Black and brown people. And we stay grounded in that we're always there to help the most vulnerable people who this system is working against, right? And so I think for us, we are proud to be, you know, API, but at the same time too, we represent the community at large. And I think just knowing that this system screws people over, and like what Jane said, a lot of people think, you know, Asians might be successful or they're super successful, and then there's no one who is unhoused or who is suffering, but there are a lot actually, you know. And I think that's something we keep in mind all the time, that there how the system screws each other, how people are forgotten in communities that people think you know, represent that model minority too. And so, you know, I think that's how we sort of stay grounded in the work that we do, and not sort of just, you know, I want to be the only Filipino or the only first Asian, and because I'm Asian, but because of those connections that we've had when we organized over the past years, right? Like, we were down there on the streets, we're down there at people's homes, at people's encampments, and we're seeing who these laws and these policies are affecting, and it's really multi-ethnic. And so I think it just always just staying grounded in the work that you do and who it affects the most, and having that critical analysis is how we're not just trying to win and just only represent, you know, just API, right? But everybody.
While we're on the topic of, I saw Linda, your question earlier, do you think you reached more non-English speakers than Bernie's campaign? Do you all feel that?
I know for us, we made a large effort to connect with people, and like what Jane said, in different languages. I think we sent out like handwritten letters and stuff to like 10 different languages. And so we really made an effort to get people involved. So, but I'm not sure if we got more than Bernie.
Ching Sim, I see your hand.
Kenneth, can you do an analysis of how and how much a single payer system like CalCare or, you know, National Medicare for All, if they're enacted, could save the city of Los Angeles budget-wise, or is that outside of the controller's purview?
Yeah, I think I think we could look into that, into how it can save us taxpayers money in terms of how many city employees we have that we're paying, because we use Kaiser and Anthem, and that's how we spend a lot of money on them. So I think on the city level we can, and I think I did sort of do like a back napkin calculation, and it's a lot just based on what I saw. But you know, I think that's something that we can look into and see what that amount is, but on the city level for city employees.
Are there other issue areas that you're planning to tackle? You know, obviously the police budget was a huge one. Is that something you intend to make an continued impressions on? I'm actually really curious what your relationship was with law enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, our main issues are housing, policing, homelessness, animal services, the environment. But these are issues that people cared about. And so it's not like something we personally just picked. It's something that people want, and we're sort of using that participatory auditing type style.
Okay, Kathy, and then we'll go to Carrie. Are you all okay on time if we spend another 5 minutes? Okay, thank you.
I'm trying to unmute. Hi. Yeah, thanks for taking my question. Kenneth and Jane, on this question of housing, do you expect what would the relationship be with the city council members? You know, this crisis of housing and affordability, and the millions of dollars that have been voted on by the city of LA to help the homeless, and yet we see it going to the police. But yet the city council, many members, I know we have some new members, thank gosh, but we have so many members that are still punitive and want to use police monies. Your role as auditor and controller, are you afraid you're just not going to be paid attention to, or how does the exposure come about, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, I think the greatest power that we have, like I mentioned earlier, is our audits or our reviews and analysis of how the city operates. And once we connect our tax dollars to performance metrics or to results, and maybe those results are bad, maybe those results are inefficient or ineffective, then we make that information known, right? We make it known to the city council, to the mayor, to the media. You know, if we spent X amount of money on police, we'll have X amount of money left for this, and that may be housing, or that may be the environment, right? And so I think if we're able to show what exactly our tax dollars are being spent on, which is sort of what our goal is to bring that transparency and accessibility, then I think that's how we can sort of shine a light on if the money is actually being used correctly. And it will be hard for city council members to ignore the budget talks, right? Because that's usually where the money talks happen, is when the budget gets created. And if they see like, oh yeah, the controller's report showed that we spent $500 million and we wasted it on overtime or something, for example, right? Then they'll adjust their budget for next fiscal year, and that can then be adjusted or be sent elsewhere to help with public safety. And that might be housing or shelter or services, right? And so that's how we are going to bring that exposure, is through our reports and recommendations and audits.
Thank you. I just want to relay what's going on in the chat for those who are listening. Let's see. Linda O asked Kelsey, can LACCD push Medicare for all? We'd save so much money. Great for adjuncts. Kelsey responded to Linda, the governor just approved $200 million healthcare budget for adjuncts. Each district is working on negotiations with faculty unions on this. It's something the faculty unions have been fighting for forever, and we finally got a legit ongoing budget for it. The next question was from Carrie. How can we suggest LA City audit recommendations?
Can you repeat that question? Like, is the question?
How can we suggest LA City audit recommendations? I guess.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I got it now. I mean, just what people usually do is they email us, or they DM us, or, you know, sometimes we'll look at the comments. But if you have recommendations, you know, usually email or is the best way, right? Our email's on our website on the very bottom. So if you have recommendations, and also not just recommendations, but like if you have an explanation as to why we should audit them, or have examples, that also helps too, in terms of like what we should look for. But one thing I want everyone to know is that we only have like 10 auditors. So it sucks. It sucks. Our budget is determined by the mayor and the city council. And if they don't like us, they could cut my budget, and it sucks. But, you know, I would tell people to be patient with what we can do, because some of the audits we have to do are mandatory. So, and then some of them I have at my own discretion. So just something to think about when people are like, how come Kenneth hasn't audited this thing yet? So it's because we need more people. So
That is good to know. And we got a question a while ago from David. What practices or policies will you try to change to make your office better to serve your people? Question for all. How will you improve the office to serve the people?
Jane, how about you take this, since I've been talking?
Yeah, and what Kenneth said about taking recommendations from the people regarding audits. We are prioritizing certain audits based on what we heard from the campaign, for example. And so the priorities are policing, homelessness, housing, animal services, the environment. And so those are things that we heard repeatedly from voters. And so if we're pursuing these audits, it's because we have the mandate from the people to do these things. But if we're hearing from the people that they overwhelmingly want us to look at a certain issue, then we have the political power to do that, because we can say, look, we're getting thousands and thousands of emails from people who want us to audit a certain thing. So we want to be very responsive to the people. And we have a community, we're going to have a community engagement director, Shekinah, who's amazing. And so we want to have a co-governance relationship with organizations, with progressive organizations, with the community. And so we're always receiving feedback, and we want to hear from people. So our controller's office is going to be structured in a way that we will always be seeking feedback. We'll be going out into the community, especially in areas that typically don't they don't get heard by city government often. And so that's one of the biggest priorities going into government, is being responsive and communicative, and making sure that information is also digestible and interesting to people.
Thank you. Kelsey, do you have thoughts to share there on how your position or office might be improved, what you might do to connect more with people?
Oh, yes, totally. I mean, it's been great because I think the current LACCD board and the new additions that are coming in after this November, they have good ties to the community and the stakeholders already. But I think being a product of the community college system and an employee of a different district, working with students on a daily is just very helpful. At my own college, a lot of the decisions that are made on our behalf are by the trustees, and oftentimes they aren't, they've never worked in a community college or quite understand what the community college system is, and that's primarily why I wanted to do the role. Our enrollments have been in a decline, and our funding mechanism is largely revolves around headcount. And so I think as we make decisions, and with the recession coming, right? So just being able to be at this level advocating for the same things that I kind of advocate as an employee and someone that cares about the students on the faculty level, it's kind of nice to have be able to attack it from both sides in two different places. But I think my perspective already in the 7 months that I've been serving has been pretty helpful to our board, because our chancellor understands how the community college system works, and the current trustees have expertise in all different areas, but I think mine is somewhat unique too, and just kind of adds to the composition of the board. I was told when I got appointed that I'd be on one committee, and I'm currently serving on 6. So yeah, I think they have a lot of faith in me being able to contribute to these areas. And so
a lot of spinning plates. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to go over this much. We have I'm going to take one last question, and we can go to closing remarks from you all. Kathy, I see your hand, but I just want to give a chance to this person who hasn't been called on. I don't know if it's Huang or Zhuang. Question is, there have been Asian Americans who've long been part of the Democratic establishment. Do you feel the progressive wing of Asian American Democrats in LA is growing in number and influence? Political question. Do you care?
I'll just speak for us, and maybe for Jane too. We're not really partisan. So for us, I don't care that much, but I'm hoping that just in general, more people are basing their political views on human rights and human-centered views, which will then tend to be more progressive, hopefully. So, and that's how we ran this campaign, because it is nonpartisan. And when I ran for this race for city controller. I think for half of it, I was agreeing, right? And so, I think at the end of the day, it's about what values you're pushing, and we really stuck to that. So we got attacked a lot by the Democratic Party, so which is fine. We still won, but to us, it's not a big deal.
Great answer. Kelsey. You have thoughts on this?
The Democratic Party.
Asian Americans who've been part of the Democratic espouse. Basically, do you feel there's an increasing number of Asian American Democrats in LA that are growing in influence?
I'm not really, well, like I had mentioned before, I've primarily been involved in education, labor, and I guess social activism. So the whole Democratic component wasn't as much on my radar or within my wheelhouse. And I think that was something that was really interesting and crazy at the because of the large territory that I had to cover. I had to do interviews, in the Valley, Harbor City, on the west side, on the east side, and everywhere in between. And everyone had a different application, and everyone had different questions, and everyone had a different critical eye. And so it was challenging. I would say throughout it all, I don't remember, API, there being a strong representation in APIs in a lot of the spaces that I had to interview with. So I'm not really sure. And then I think, like many of you that are here, my moral compass was, what would Bernie Sanders do? And I think that's what kind of kept me grounded in a lot of that part of the process, if that makes sense.
WWBSD. All right. Closing statements.
Oh, I'm on mic, so I'll just talk. I want to say thank you to Kenneth and Jane. Your unapologetic, really fun, exciting way to run your campaign was inspiring. And I think it made me feel like the thing that I was about to embark on was a little bit more manageable and digestible and doable to stay authentic and be okay with being myself, and kind of awkward in the whole campaign process, because there was a lot of trials and tribulations. I think a lot of mistakes, traditional mistakes, right? Which I think is something that you all did that was phenomenal, that we didn't have to follow that. And so thank you. And I had mentioned to Jane before you came in, Kenneth, but I've been since Congress supporter of you, and so it's been a great process to watch you, and I hope to work with you.
Just cut out, I think, at least on my end.
Oh, is it okay now?
Cut out at this.
Oh, I think I just stopped talking at this maybe, but I think anything that I can do in wherever I am now, please reach out. I hope to support you in any ways that you both need anything. Thank you all who came to listen to us today. When you asked, I was like, oh, really? Like, you want to hear what I have to say? I'm not really sure how helpful this is, but thank you. And just so you know, I love the job and I love the work, and I will help. I see the purpose and my role being significant. So thank you for all of you that supported me in this process.
Thank you, Kelsey. Let us know if you need any help with those spinning plates. That's a lot. And thank you for all your work. Please.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll let Jane have the last word. But thank you to PANA. When PANA first started, I think we were there for a little bit for a while, and then we got busy. So, shout out to just being that progressive space for Asian Americans here in Los Angeles. I think it's something that is needed because people are looking for it, especially during like the Bernie days. I remember that was really fun stuff. So thank you just for continuing it on since then. We're doing that too, obviously in a different role, and I think, but we all came from the same. We all started from together, right? And I think that's very important. And that one of us, or many of us, or a few of us are actually in here now. Maybe we won't be the last. Maybe there'll be double, right? Instead of just 2 of us, there'll be 4 of us or 5 of us. But at the end of the day, our campaign is really, really honored and and glad that we did receive the most votes ever in the history of LA. And it puts a lot of pressure on our shoulders, right? Because you want to succeed and do well by the community and by your supporters. So I would just say, like I mentioned earlier, please be patient with us and support us if you notice we're getting attacked by the media or by the establishment, because it's going to happen a lot. And we're gonna, do our best, and we're gonna run this office like we campaigned on, with transparency, with accountability, and being accessible, because I think that's really important, is to always be accessible to the community. So thank you everyone for your support. Thank you to Kelsey. I saw Kelsey last year. I think we're at one of the marches, but we have a photo together. And Kelsey's been a supporter of our campaign even since Congress. So super shout out. I'm so glad that you're in there. I voted for you too. So yeah, Jane.
Yeah, thank you, PANA, for, as kind of said, being that space of progressive AAPIs. I hope that these electoral wins inspire many more progressive AAPIs to win, because it is scary to run for office. And none of us, I'm sure, ever envisioned us being a politician or going into politics, especially Kenneth, who's like the least likely politician person I know. And I think part of the reason why we won is because he is so authentic. And it's really important to run an authentic campaign and to be yourself. And Kenneth really excelled at that. And I also had to allow him to be himself and totally embrace his personality. And people got to know the authentic Kenneth with him and his corgis and his wearing sweatpants and dancing on TikTok and his Crocs and all of that stuff. So I really encourage progressive AAPIs to please consider running in the future. Be yourself, be authentic, stay true to your message. And thank you so much, PANA and the progressive AAPI community, for supporting us. So I hope there are many more progressive AAPI electoral wins to come.
Great.
We'll
Thank
help you. We'll help you.
Yes, we're going to be there for you. Thank you so much for leading with intention, and for having such strong, amazing, phenomenal work ethics, and for having that fiery passion in your hearts that's always so visible. You all are so transparent, and just smashing all stereotypes of everything. Youth, AAPIs, women, men, the role you all are playing, and how you can both be leaders in this space. It's really wonderful watching you all. Keep going. And Stephen, I messaged you. Are you closing us out? Thank you all. It's been an honor.
Stay safe, everybody.
Hello, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We'll be continuing more of these activities in the future.
Next Sunday, we're continuing this conversation, right, Stephen?
Yes, absolutely. We are, get on our mailing list. And if you signed up for this webinar, we have your contact information, and we'll send out information about our future meetings. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm going to turn off the recording. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.